Here are 4 different ways to coil our climbing rope for different situations. Hello everyone, I'm Jason. There are lots of ways to coil our climbing rope, but I find myself choosing from a few different methods depending upon my circumstances. Probably the one I use most is the single strand coil. This is done by finding one end of the rope, keeping it firmly in grasp, extending the rope across our wingspan, and then flicking the rope over our head. Now we hand off the free end of the rope into our other hand. Again, stretch across our wingspan, and again, flick it behind our head. Switch hands, and so on. With practice, you will get very fast at this. To finish the coil, we find and hold the center to get the coils off of our shoulders. We can then leave the last coil a bit short. Also near the center, we create a micro loop. Taking the free tail, we wrap all of the coils, moving back towards the bend in that micro loop and making sure the wraps are tight. When we are almost out of rope, we run the tail through the micro loop and then find our last coil that was a bit short. By pulling that coil, we cinch down and close the micro loop, capturing the rope end. This coil is ideal for draping across the top of a pack if we have an approach into our climb, leaving the rest of the pack free to hold other gear. The next method is the double coil. The mechanics are basically the same, but instead of grabbing one free end to start the coil, we grab both free ends. However, I want to leave about 2 wingspans of tail in those ends. Making our handoffs, wingspans, and flicks, we will come to the middle of the rope and we can somewhat equalize the last coils. Now we take the free ends and wrap them around the coils, pinching the 2 sides together below the middle. I can finish the coil by pushing a bite of both tails through the middle, then running one tail through the bite. I can tie it off with a square knot. Because we make our coils 2 strands at a time, this method is fast, and I've used it when I'm in a hurry, such as when I was trying to get down before a storm hit. With a slight modification to the last method, we can carry our coiled rope like a backpack. We need still more lengths in our free tails. This time, when we finish our wraps and push our 2 bites of rope through the middle, we run both tails through the bite. We lift the coil up onto our back, drape the tails over our shoulders. Now the tails coming from under our arms, we use to cross over the lower part of the coils to pinch them down snugly onto our lower back. Then we come around in front to our waist and tie off the ends. Again, I'm using a square knot. The backpack is super handy for carrying rope when you don't want to take your whole pack and all of your gear along with you, say during a scramble or when you head up the walk-up at the crag to set up a top rope. The final coil is very involved, and I don't use it much, but it has its place. I last used the bird's nest coil in Uray due to some very specific circumstances. First, I had time the night before climbing. Second, I wanted to maximize our efficiency on the day of climbing, and third, the first technical component of the day was a rappel. We start the bird's nest by tying in a stopper knot. I'll explain why in a bit. And then making a few mountaineer's loops. We don't want too many or they can tangle. Now we can create a bite and run it through the inner coils. We take another bite and run it through the first bite. The second bite now goes up to the outer side of the coils, and we push a third bite through. The third bite gets tucked back to the inner coil, and we push a fourth bite through, and so on. We are making a daisy chain around the original mountaineer's coil by alternating slip knots on the outer and inner sides of the coil. When we get to the already existing daisies, we just keep going. When we get to the middle of our rope, we will create a bite knot. Here, I'm using an alpine butterfly. Now we want to repeat the process, but beginning from the other side of the rope. Again, add the stopper, the mountaineer's loops, and the daisied slip knots. When we get to the middle alpine butterfly, we can run the alpine butterfly through the last daisy loop to keep it from unraveling. The whole thing can get clipped onto my pack very much like our first coil method. Now when we get an anchor set up, we can pull the alpine butterfly from the daisied loop, and we have 2 coils with stopper knots that are ready to be tossed down for rappel. We clip the alpine butterfly to keep the rope from pulling through the anchor point and toss 1 coil half. Now we can take out the butterfly knot, just clip the rope into the anchor and toss the other half. The daisies just pull free, and the hefty coils are convenient to throw. What's your go-to rope coil method? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching this video. Please like, subscribe, and share if you want to support us. For more information, you can go to our website at www.shortguysbetaworks.com. You can check out a related video on 3 different rappel rope tosses for differing wind conditions, or you can check out our entire rock climbing safety series. We'll see you next week and keep on getting more out of that big outside.